Today, we are privileged to have the CEO of the Chamber of Mines of Namibia, Mr. Fabian Shaanika, and the CEO of RMB Namibia, Mr. Daniel Motinga, with us to reflect on the industry's journey, assessing progress since the introduction of the Namibia Public Forum framework, and explore what delivery looks like in practice. My name is Keegan Stradom. I'm the Relationship Manager for Mining and Resources at RMB Namibia. This year's theme, From Dialogue to Delivery, Assessing Progress in Creating Mining-Led Economic Growth and Employment since NamPPF, challenges us to move beyond aspirations and ask a fundamental question. What tangible progress have we made, and what still needs to happen to unlock mining's full contribution to Namibia's economy? Mr. Shaanika, since the launch of the Namibia Private Forum, what would you identify as the three most significant achievements in advancing mining-led economic growth and employment, and where has progress fallen short?
We need to understand the importance of the very mere fact that NamPPF exists. I think that's the first, or it's a great attempt at formalizing the relationship between state and the industry. So that's a formal structure that exists, and through that, one needs to be really appreciative of its existence. And then through that, what has happened is, I think for the very first time, we've zoomed into job creation, and we've actually made commitments as to what the sector's contribution towards that will be. I won't divulge all the numbers and progress to that. That will be very, very evident at the Expo itself. But it's a theme that has been identified, and everybody's squarely working on achieving that. And then I think the third and sort of last point for me is around that is the fact that for the first time, I think there is heightened discussions around the importance of integrating local procurement into the mining value chain. That again has come out of the NamPPF conversations. And that's a theme that we as an industry continue to focus on.
From an investor and financier perspective, what developments have given you the greatest confidence in Namibia's mining sector over the past few years?
So for mining, obviously there's lots of changes linked to changes in global demand. You would see now critical minerals is the new play in town. Namibia is well positioned to benefit from that. I think we must remain, from a policy perspective, accommodative. I think the conversations around local content is key, but obviously there's a trade-off point. I mean, there's a fine line where we compete on some of the commodities as marginal producers with global players where maybe some of the input cost narratives are much more better aligned. And therefore, with a view of recognizing that we are competing globally, I think it's critical that we are much more welcoming to foreigners. And I'm saying that has been the case for the past, even post-independence, and I believe that will continue to be the case.
What tangible progress has Namibia made in moving up the mining value chain through beneficiation and local value addition? And what still needs to happen to accelerate this transition?
The drive now, and it's evident on the ground, is around scoping opportunities for local beneficiation, specifically in the battery mineral space. So we do have, and again, this will be highlighted at the Expo, but we do have a lithium producer in the country that is actually working on a program that is actually partially externally funded by the European Union, and that's a very specific, tangible project that I can speak to. But not only that, I think the industry has gone as far as not just concentrating on beneficiation, but also including a component of green technologies. So there are, again, one or two fairly brownfields projects at this stage that are looking at incorporating some green technologies into the beneficiation value chain. So I can at least talk to 3 or 4 projects that are currently on the go. I have to highlight it's still early stage, but it's definite progress if I look at where we were 2 years ago, that has definitely moved on. But I think what's also important for us is to recognize that boots on the ground is one part of the process. I think there is a policy and a policy element to this as well, and I am very optimistic. We, as the Chamber, has provided great input into the local beneficiation strategy for Namibia. I believe that strategy is actually ready for tabling, and we're hoping that before end of this year, it will actually run through the legal process so that policy actually becomes the vehicle that gets utilized. But typical of us as industry, we don't always have to wait for the policies and frameworks to be put in place. If we believe we are on the right course, we chart ahead, and as a result, there is a few that are already in progress.
We must actually incentivize risk takers to bring the resources up the ground, and then you can have a conversation as
Correct.
to how you unlock that value. That's critical.
Correct.
From a client perspective, Mr. Motinga, what are the key factors they look at before committing capital to processing and value addition projects?
The key one is there must be market, and then the second piece, before they can raise the resources, Australia is a key market, London is a key market, recently the US is also a key market for raising capital for mining projects, is that the policy environment is there. Remember, mining historically go to naughty places. I mean, they operate in DRC, get the resources out. They're interesting addresses. So they're risk takers generally. And they take a long-term view, 20-year, 30-year view for payback period fully. So policy certainty is key, but it's not a major ask. But there must be a market. What you don't want is into especially some parts of Africa where suddenly you produce the goods and the producer claimed by government. So I think that's certainty in terms of, I can take the things out of the ground, add value to them, and take them to where the market is, avoid any obstruction, and then pay my dues subsequent post the sales.
What evidence do you see that mining growth is translating into tangible benefits for ordinary Namibians? And how can the sector strengthen that impact?
Of the total revenue generated by the industry, as much as 67% stays in country. So that number is quite important to realize what it can do. Is it being deployed effectively? That's maybe another conversation. So starting there, I think there is evidence. But if you go a level deeper, I think I'll point out probably one area, and it's in the education sector. I think mining still continues to contribute greatly towards bursary schemes, the technical fields in terms of vocational training. And I sometimes joke, in Namibia's case, you have to cast your mind back, maybe say 30 years back, and say who are some of the prominent executives that have gone through mining channels, if I can call it. And there's quite a few. But I think the real question is always, is enough being done? And I think depending on which side of the coin you look at, you could have those debates. But as an industry, there is obviously very, very focused intent on making sure that we improve and grow those contributions towards the communities. It's important to also look at the full picture. It's very easy to look at a particular operation and say they're not doing enough. Look at it at sort of portfolio level. But more importantly, we have to ask ourselves, is this sustainable? Ultimately, mining is a non-renewable activity. And at some point, those activities will come to an end. So it's important to build towns that can thrive beyond the life of mine, of whatever project you're looking at. And that's really important. And I think that intent is there.
And you just have to look at the Tsumeb. Where would it be without mining? Look at Arandes. Where would it be without the uranium? Look at Oraniemont and the adjacent economies. Where would it be without diamonds? Lutritz. Where would it be without diamonds? So I think so mining is historical footprint. Even the rollout of the railway network across Namibia, that's been because of diamonds and mining. So mining has allowed us the basic infrastructure is in place. Water desalination projects are in place. And therefore, to Fabian's point, that this is a non-renewable place, at some point the resources will run out, and then, but we have the base where other things can happen. So it's been a key catalyst for industrialization. I mean, the vocational bit that Fabian spoke about is critical vocational training. I mean, NIMT, about Rossing, and other TCL historically, those interventions and their needs. Obviously, they were trying to solve for their needs, and this was a skills perspective. But it laid the base for boiler makers that will post independence useful for NamPower, NamWater, engineers that have been deployed in the economy. So that's, I think, mining's long-term legacy, the skills bases that it helped develop, the geologists that it has developed, geophysicists that is developed, that Namibia is reaping the benefits from for years to come.
So if we meet again at Mining Expo 2027, what specific milestones would you like to be able to point to as proof that Namibia has successfully moved from dialogue to delivery in creating mining-led economic growth and employment?
I'll probably cast my mind to three areas. One is really against job figures, to see how that has progressed. That's very important. The second one is infrastructure. I think what success looks like for me is at least one financial close to an infrastructure project. And specifically water and baseload electricity. Those are key components towards ultimately, your all-in cost to producing whatever mineral you're looking at. So I think success to me would be financial close to one or possibly even two infrastructure projects that unlocks a mining activity or a mining project or makes it economically viable. And then I think the last one, or sort of a third area that I think would, for me would be as defined as success is currently, if you look at some of where are the bottlenecks and what are the impediments, it's velocity. I think for us, the speed at which we execute things can definitely improve. And as such, I think I would like to see one or two at least policy frameworks or bills that have then been translated into acts. And really, for me, a low-hanging fruit is really looking at, if you look at our licensing regime, I know there is now a digital cadastral system that's up and running, but I think one should really look at the last 12 months and say, has this improved the pace at which we can get all this licensing done? Because ultimately, and this is, something that I keep telling people, that your industry is only as great as your exploration portion of it. And we need not forget that the last 5 years, exploration has really been great for Namibia. It's easy to get comfortable, but you need to continue focusing on that pipeline, because it's what we do today that will inform what 10, 15 years look like from today.
But I think maybe just to add, obviously, mining is mechanized over time. So the good old days in the 80s, 70s, when mining used to employ thousands of manual labor, those days are gone. So mining is mechanized. I think the key thing, obviously, to Fabian's point, there's been lots of pipeline around exploration. As a banker, what I'm looking for is that these exploration projects becomes mines that can unlock opportunity from a foreign exchange earning perspective, job creation perspective, to the extent that it's obviously highly capital intensive. So we see projects in copper, we see projects in gold. So those projects must come to fruition. It holds lots of benefit and upside for Namibia.
So in conclusion, in one sentence, what gives you the greatest optimism about the future of Namibia's mining sector?
The industry is here. They have been here, some of the industries, for over 100 years. And despite some of the challenges, typically now in the diamond industry, you can see maybe a reset industry, but still operating, contributing to employment, contributing to the tax base. The structural reset that we see, particularly in the industry, is probably fully embedded now. But I think there's still value to be extracted, the benefits. So there's upside.
We're very fortunate as a country. We've got a very good geological setting, so great mineral resources, great deposits scattered all around the country. But that on its own is not enough. And I think what really gives me great optimism is that there is clear signals that the alignment between political will and private sector exists. And I think one has to really recognize that. And if my take is, if the two continue to work hand in hand, you can really unlock not just the industry, but the general challenges that we face as a country.
Looking forward to the Mining Expo 2026. See you there.